How many people here speak Chinese? Okay. 这样讲好不好？好。一半一半。那我try它很好。首先我要特别感谢那个语言学校邀请我到这来参加今天的活动。So I'm very grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to be here today to participate in your activities and the launch of this teaching material. 尊敬的贵宾，石先生，中华人民共和国驻墨尔本的总领事，我特别感谢您今天抽出一些时间到这来参加我们的活动。在座的朋友们，女士们、先生们，大家好。I'd like to recognise all our distinguished guests here today, in particular the Consul General of the People's Republic of China, and thank him for taking time from his own busy schedule to be with us for this important activity. To all other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. 众所周知，陆客文说中国话的时候，我们有特别担心，天不怕地不怕，只怕老陆破坏中国话。As we know in Chinese, whenever I open my mouth and speak Chinese, everyone gets a little bit anxious for what linguistic atrocities I will then commit. The Chinese have a saying, there's nothing on heaven to fear, there's nothing on earth to fear, there's only one thing to fear, is Kevin massacring Chinese. 这个维多利亚州政府的语言学校的历史是独一无二的。不就是独一无二的，而且是令人钦佩的一个机构。This Victorian School of Languages has quite a remarkable history. In fact, it's a unique history. And it's one which we who follow the study of language teaching in Australia admire greatly. 这个历史很长。比方讲，1935年开始教日语，教意大利语，48年。开始教汉语，在我们澳洲的历史上，这个历史非常长，以及从早期开始特别认识到承认学外语、学亚语的重要性。So in the whole history of the teaching of these languages in Australia, this is a remarkable institution. To have begun the teaching of Japanese and Italian back in 1935. To have begun the teaching of Chinese in 1948 really demonstrates that from a very early time in Australia's language teaching history, not only is this a long history and a proud history, but one which demonstrates that from the earliest days this institution recognised the importance of the teaching of the languages of the world, the languages of Asia in particular. 我本人是1976年开始学习汉语。当时我开始上了那个澳洲国立大学。I myself began studying Chinese in 1976 at the Australian National University. 当年众所周知，那个毛主席还活着，4人半还活着，4人半还没有下台。当时我们用的教材是文化大革命的教材。So when I began studying Chinese in 1976 at the ANU, Chairman Mao was still alive. In fact, the Gang of Four was not only still alive, but they hadn't fallen from power. And so for those thinking about teaching materials today, the teaching materials we used back in those days were all from the Chinese Cultural Revolution. They had a particular flavor. 是不是？我特别记得那个文革命的一些故事，有给我带来很深刻的影响。不就是雷锋，而且中村瑞跟其他的革命英雄的人物。I particularly remember the stories of the Cultural Revolution text. We were all taught to study Lei Feng, we were all taught to study the history of Dong Sun Rui, and all sorts of revolutionary heroes. So I've been around long enough to remember all these things. Sure. 我进了外交部的时候，当年是1981年，当年我的汉语水平还可以。但是我们外交部特别聪明的一个机构我进了外交部的时候，他们马上派我到瑞典去。 瑞典会说汉语的人不多，所以我在瑞典的时候，他迫使我们学习瑞典话。过了2年的时候呢，怎么办？那个大部分的我的汉语都忘记了，但是瑞典的水平都不错。后来呢，他们决定派我到中国去，非常笨的一个机构。So I just said, in the great history of foreign ministries, when I joined in 1981, with a reasonable level of Chinese, they then immediately decided to send me to Sweden. As you know, in Sweden, the number of Chinese language speakers is not great. In fact, in those days, the Chinese restaurants were appalling as well. Think of Scandinavian-style Chinese food. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone here. And so we were required then to learn Swedish. After 2 years, I had quite reasonable Swedish. I'd forgotten most of my Chinese, at which point they then decided to send me to Beijing. Foreign ministries worldwide on these questions are particularly stupid. Worldwide, they're particularly stupid. Hopefully we've learned some things since then. 那么我住在北京的时候，我花了3年的时间呢，2-3年的时间，给我带来很深刻的影响。我们最年轻的女儿Jessica 陆解析，她这个小娃娃的时候，我们开始搬到那边去。最近我到那边去，我带她去看她当时的阿姨，当时的阿姨还活着，宋阿姨。所以她在澳洲在高中的时候也学了汉语。她现在住在北京，她的先生是一个华人，香港华人。最近呢，我也有我第一个外孙女，叫谢月儿，非常可爱的小娃娃。So when we went to live in Beijing in 1984, this has left my family and I with very deep impressions. When we went there, our youngest daughter Jessica was only a little baby. And recently, when we went back to China again, we found that her Ai from that time was still alive. And so I took her to meet her Ai, Song Ai, as she exchanged all sorts of childhood memories of what it was like bringing up our youngest girl. Of course, Jessica, when she went to high school in Brisbane, also studied Chinese. I had nothing to do with the choice. Much. And her husband is Chinese. We are delighted at the fact that we now have our first grandchild, our granddaughter, whose name is Yu'er, Josephine Therese in English, Xie Yu'er, and they now live in Beijing. 在中国的南方，在中国的北方，他就叫我，就是陆爷爷，对不对？陆外公。在南方有其他的说法，对不对？对，这是比较敏感的一个说法，对不对？陆公公。我不算是怎么办呢？那个两个用法，It's quite funny in Chinese. This is why foreigners always commit linguistic atrocities. Is that in Chinese, because there's such a rich and long history of language, that you have multiple words to describe what in English we usually only have one word for, or one or two. And so if you were to ask how do you translate grandfather into Chinese, and well, say by which degree of relationship. And so in Chinese, there are multiple possibilities. In the north, you could be called Ye. You could also be called Wai Gong, which essentially means the maternal grandfather. Or in the south, quite respectively, you get called Lu Gong Gong. Except that Gong Gong has two meanings. It can mean in the south that you're certainly not a grandfather. It also can mean that you're a eunuch in the north. When 我的老二陆尼克他也在高中学习汉语，也在上了大学的时候也学了，他在复旦大学也花了1年的时间专门学习汉语，所以他是一个律师，但是他的语言水平也是不错。My middle son Nicholas, he studied Chinese at both high school and at university, and also spent a year at Fudan University in Shanghai, working on his Chinese. He's now a lawyer. He speaks reasonable Chinese. 我最年轻的孩子呢是鲁马克，最调皮的，最年轻的一半的样子也是最调皮的，对不对？So our youngest child, Marcus, he's 18. The youngest is always the naughtiest. 今年我派他到北京去，It's his gap year, so I sent him to Beijing this year. 他现在在北大的语言中心办的学习汉语。He's studying Chinese full time at the Language Center of Beijing University. 他上了高中的时候，他拒绝学习汉语。When he was in high school, he refused to learn Chinese. 为什么呢？他爸爸说汉语，他哥哥说汉语，他姐姐说汉语，因此他拒绝学习汉语。So he at high school refused to learn Chinese because his father spoke Chinese, his older sister spoke Chinese, his brother spoke Chinese, so he wasn't having anything to do with it. 但是在高中毕业了之后，他对我说：“爸，我想中国未来很重要。”是吗？ So at the end of all of this family struggle, at the end of high school, he says to me one day, "You know, Dad, I think China will be very important in the future." And I said, "No kidding, mate." 因此，他现在北京当年。那么我最近我也上了中国的那个推特，那就是微博，那个不就是新浪微博还有腾讯微博。在我的经验里呢，这个微博是一个特殊的经验。为什么呢？我每一次写错的时候，在中国我发现呢，我有几百万的新的老师马上骂我。就是说吴克文先生的语言水平不错，但是在第一句、第二句、第三句有一些错误，应该给你教一下，好不好？ So in the last several months or so, I've gone to the Chinese Twitterverse, both what's called Xinlang Weibo and Tongxin Weibo. And the great thing about that is you suddenly discover you've got several million teachers of Chinese. As you know, being able to speak Chinese is one thing, being able to write it is something else. And every time I write a Weibo, I immediately have several 100,000 people come back and attack me for my linguistic atrocities, which is great. I learn from this every day. 多多不讲。外语在我们澳大利亚是非常重要的。Foreign languages are really important for Australia. 对于我们澳大利亚的前途、澳大利亚的未来很重要。For Australia's future, foreign languages are very important. 在澳大利亚的未来呢，最重要的语言是汉语。The most important language for Australia's future is Chinese. 因此，我们在那个教育系统有一个特殊的责任，就是用各方面的办法、措施、系统来鼓励那个年轻的学生们，不就是开始学习汉语，而且掌握汉语。学习以及掌握这两个概念是不同的。孔子特别重视努力。我们学生们，如果他们有一种期望，掌握这个非常困难的语言，非常做出很大的努力。You know, one of the most important languages, the most important language for Australia's future is Chinese. This is a difficult language. We need, as institutions, to do everything we can to encourage the young people of Australia to learn Chinese. But not just to learn Chinese, to master Chinese. Learning and mastering are two different things. This is a very difficult language. Confucius, if you've read the Analects, always instructed his disciples to exert maximum effort to master the classics. The same discipline applies to any foreign student of Chinese as well. 因此，你们在这边的业务也是非常重要的。不管我们有1000、1万、100万学生感兴趣学习中国话，如果我们教材不行的话，没办法。So that's all fine as a vision, but there is a very fundamental question here. which is if we've got 1,000 kids, 10,000 kids, we've got 1 million kids who want to study Chinese, unless you have the appropriate teaching materials, it's not going to work. 所以你们在这边所做的事，从我的看法来讲，是非常重要的事。So therefore, the work you have done here, from my own personal perspective, is particularly important. 对于我们中国的未来来讲，我很乐观。For China's future, I have always been an optimist. 当然，在中国国内，他们所面对的挑战很厉害。Any realist understands that the challenges which China faces today are formidable. 政治方面的挑战，经济方面的挑战，那个文化方面的挑战，在那个中国最近的现代化这方面的因素越来越复杂。Anyone who is a clear-headed student of China knows the political, economic and cultural challenges facing modern China in this period of unprecedented modernization are formidable. We all understand that. 但是我自己的感觉，我自己的结论就是对于中国的未来来讲，我们都应该有很乐观的一种看法以及立场。But if you take all these factors together, my conclusion, I believe everyone's conclusion, should be we should be optimistic about where China will go and how it will navigate these important challenges of the future. 我们以前有一个我们1972年我们两国建交，今年是40年，这个关系的历史现在很长，但是对于我们双边的关系呢，的未来我也很乐观。You know, this relationship began in 40 years ago. It's already quite a long relationship. I'm also not just optimistic about China's future, I'm very optimistic about the future of Australia and China. 但是关于那个双边关系的最根本的支柱 as for this future of this relationship's fundamental pillars, 重要支柱之一在于语言。But when we look at the fundamental pillars for the future of this relationship, one of those fundamental pillars is language. And so having made those remarks, it gives me great pleasure to officially launch this new teaching curriculum and teaching material for students of Chinese here in the great state of Victoria. 谢谢大家。